Hi there, everybody. Hey, welcome to CoderDojo Ham's live stream coding session. It's
Hello,
great to have
everyone.
you here.
Hello.
And got Richard and Helena, Lena, and Danny. So very warm welcome. Hope you have a fantastic afternoon. Just to remind you that if you need help from any of the mentors who are waiting to support you, if you get stuck or you need help with debugging code, then put a message in the chat stream on YouTube and someone will come and help you. And then you can send the links in the Scratch session to the Scratch studio and we can look at your code. So if you need any help, use the chat channel. So without any more delay, handing over to Lena and Danny to take us through a spooky, ghoulish Halloween project. Over to you guys.
Hello.
Hello. So
I'm Danny.
And I'm Lena.
And as Peter said, we're going to be working on a ghoulish Halloween Scratch project. Helena, what have you got for us?
So in this game, we got a bowl and we're going to try and catch sweets. But if we catch eggs, which are basically like bad, then we lose a life.
Do you want to? So how does that relate to Halloween? That's a
trick or treating.
Trick or treat game. Excellent. Do you want to share our screen and then we can start to see the game? Oh, got that there. So this is a quick demo. Excellent. So you can show us what it does. So you've got to collect the sweets
and avoid the eggs.
Got you. Because if you catch the eggs, you lose a life.
And if you get to 0 lives, then you lose the whole game.
Game over. Okay. And I think there's a little quirk when you get up to 10 sweets. We'll get to that when we're playing, I guess, or when we're building. So hopefully everyone can see what it is we're going to make. Helena, do you want to show us how we start on making it?
Yes. So we've got a short setup. So then we can get kind of prepared for the game, like add all the variables, the lists, everything that we'll need.
And this is a new, fresh Scratch project, right? In the MIT Scratch MIT ADU. Excellent. Okay.
So firstly, one of the obvious ones is we need to delete the cat.
Yeah.
And we're gonna add a backdrop, so you can choose whatever you want. But
so you just click the add backdrop button. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So you can choose whatever backdrop you want, but I'm going to choose a spooky one that I think is kind of, it's good. So
Halloweeny,
yes.
Right, okay.
So woods in outdoors. So we got that now.
That's our backdrop. Excellent.
Now we need to add some sprites.
Okay.
So the first sprite that we're going to add is the heart candy, which is in food.
Yep.
So it's over here. And it's a little bit big, so we're going to change the size down here to 50.
Okay, sounds good.
Now it's a bit smaller.
Yeah.
So now we're going to add the egg sprite, which is also in food.
Okay.
So here it is.
I guess being trick or treat is kind of quite food related. Yeah.
Yes. Now the egg sprite's a good size, so we don't need to change it.
Okay, and you're going to add a further sprite then?
Yes, there's one more sprite we need. Which is the bowl sprite, so then we can catch the fruits. And
so I guess if viewers want, they could make themselves a Halloween bag or something, but we're using the built-in sprites here.
Yes.
And, yep.
So we got this. Now it's a bit small, and I wouldn't see the egg fitting in there, so I think we should change the size to 125.
Okay.
It's bigger. So now we're going to add a few sounds so then we can have sound effects.
So sounds and background music and things, okay.
So going to go to loops and then choose the cave one, which sounds like this.
Nice and Halloweeny and spooky. Love it.
So now we can go and get some sound effects.
For the bowl, okay.
For when we get a heart candy.
Oh, so a collect sound. We collected a thing. Okay.
And also a sound for when we get like a sort of checkpoint, like 10, 25, etc.
Kind of a level up sound.
Level up sound.
Okay, so let's get the collect sound then.
So I don't actually know where this is, so I'm just going to search that.
You got an extra T there. There it is. Yep.
So
and the coin sound.
sprite sound. So it's in effects.
Okay, excellent.
So now we're going to add a few variables.
Right.
Like score, live variables.
Okay, so we're going to add scores and right, fair enough.
So lives. So for all sprites, and it's not going to be a cloud variable.
Okay.
And then we need a score variable.
Yeah.
For all sprites, and again, not cloud.
And we can see those sprites. Okay. Nice.
We can also delete the default my variable.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna move. This is optional.
It's a bit so. Keep going.
It's optional, but I'm gonna move my variable over here.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so now we've got a small setup.
Okay, just before we carry on, just want to make sure everyone's got a bit of time to catch up, and just want to check, that they've got their sprites in and their sounds in. So I guess, yes, has everyone figured out their sound and sprites? Is there anything you want to just go back through there? So you've added a heart candy sprite,
an egg sprite, and a bowl sprite,
which are all from the food category in the sprites, and you've added a backdrop which was from outdoors called woods, and you've added background music to the backdrop,
which is called cave in the loops section.
Got you. And you've added
Triumph and coins, which I don't know where Triumph is, so search it up.
You search Triumph, and Triumph is going to be music for when we level up, and coin
will be for like when you regularly get a heart candy.
So when you've got them to collect.
Yes.
Okay, and those are both on the bowl sprite?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so I guess what's the next step?
So we're going to add a variable list.
Okay, and where do we do that?
We're going to use for the leveling up.
So this is going to be a list of what
to level up.
Okay, which scores the levels are at. Is that right? Okay. So you clicked make a list inside the variables box.
Yeah.
And you're going to call it Triumph
list.
Okay, so there's a list of the triumphs. Okay, so and that's right. Yep.
So it's going to be for all sprites, not just for one.
So we've just gone to variables and to make a list.
Underneath
underneath all the other variable blocks, and when you click that, you just name the list and added for all sprites. So variables is on the left
on the left, and it's the kind of darker orange. It's not control, that's a little bit lighter, it's a bit darker.
Okay, so if you make the list then, and we can
so Triumph list.
Okay, and now we can see a list. So we've got a list that's currently empty,
so
and
needs some data.
It needs some data. We're going to come back and add the data later. Okay, but a list means you can have multiple items of data, and we'll start using that in a bit. Okay.
So we're also going to hide the list because we're not going to use it quite yet.
Right.
But we're going to use it soon.
Okay. Okay. How did you hide that? Sorry.
So you click on this little tick.
So this is in the variables under make a list. So now we've added a list. You've also got down here a set of extra commands for working with lists.
Yes.
And the first thing you've done is you've unticked that.
So that will hide the list, the empty list.
Yep. Okay.
So we'll just give a little bit of time for people to catch up.
Mm-hmm. So the project, when we've finished, also will be on, I believe, on the Ham CoderDojo Studio, so people will be able to see the code we've written as well.
Why don't I share it now?
Well, you could share it. So can you share it now? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just share it.
Okay.
All right, people can now view it.
Okay, is that on the studio as well?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll carry on. So I guess the next step is
we're going to make the bowl move side to side, and we're also going to set some values in the variables.
Yep.
So I think for us, our starting block is going to be when the flag is clicked.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And now we're going to set some variables.
So we reset the lives and score. Okay.
Yes. So lives, we're going to have 5 lives.
Quite generous.
Yeah, it's quite generous. But if you want to be harder on your player, you can choose 3 or even 1.
So you've just duplicated that block. So we've got another set variables block.
Yes,
Okay.
I've duplicated it so we have.
Was that you right click to duplicate?
Right click, duplicate, or you can just drag in another block. I just did it a little bit quickly.
Yep.
So we're going to change this to the score variable, and we're not going to have 5 score at the start. That would be kind of cheating. So we're going to have the score will be 0.
Okay, got you.
And now when we start the game, we want our bowl sprite to be at a specific point, so then it doesn't just start anywhere.
Okay.
So a reasonable place would be X 0, and the Y needs to be kind of far down. So minus 100 seems good.
Okay,
Now,
so can we see what that looks like?
so if we click this, then we have
The bottom of the screen, and all the scores and lives are reset.
yes.
Okay. So okay, and that resets the scores and puts the bowl in the right place.
If I change the lives like this, it becomes 6, and then I can press it again, and it will become 5 again.
Do you want to show us just how you change that again? So it was in variables. Okay, and you just click that block just to run it, just to see the action.
Quick run.
Do you want to show that just slower a bit? Yep. Okay. And then you press it and you reset that. Okay. Very nice. Excellent.
So now we're going to add a forever loop. So then it will always go to the mouse's X position, but not the Y position.
So the bowl's going to track us at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, instead of going everywhere where the mouse goes.
Cool.
So
we added a forever loop under the control.
Under the go-to.
Oh, so the forever loop was under the control section, and now you're back in the motion section.
Back
Okay.
in the motion section, yes.
Yeah.
So now we'll drag in another go-to, but we're going to change it a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you go to sensing.
Sensing. Okay.
Yeah. So underneath, you can see mouse X and mouse Y.
Okay, in sensing.
In sensing.
And those are the round icons, yeah.
The rounder ones. So we can drag these into here. Whereas we can't really drag these into here. It won't work.
Yeah.
So we're only going to drag the mouse X into here because otherwise it will be go everywhere. It will go everywhere that the mouse goes.
Okay.
So we're going to keep the Y the same, meaning it will stay on a line, basically. An invisible line.
Can we demo that?
Yeah. So another thing that we probably need to do after this step is just so then your code doesn't disappear if anything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Click on the save button so then you can have a copy.
Good time to save, demo and save. Okay. Hopefully everyone's with us so far. It's a good idea. Is anyone trying out different sprites? Has anyone got some other things, other foods, other collection items? Okay, so guess we're giving people a moment to catch up. What do we do next?
So in the next thing we're going to do, we're going to move on to the heart candy sprite.
Okay.
And off of the bowl sprite.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to clone the heart candy. So then it will have many duplicates and they'll fall down into the bowl.
We got someone using their own sprites. Maybe we'll have to see that in the studio later.
That's amazing.
Cool stuff. So you're going to make it so the heart candy
will duplicate itself, and then when it falls into the bowl, it will add a score.
Cool.
But we don't just want it to fall on the bowl. We want the little reddish brown area.
Yeah.
We want it to fall there because if it falls to the side of the bowl, I think that would be cheating.
That makes sense. Okay, you don't want someone to be able to catch it when it's already kind of past the top of the bowl.
Yes.
So okay. So, do you want to start showing us with the code? I guess.
Yes. In the heart candy sprite, and like you said before, when clicked is our starting block.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do some where it will go to.
Okay, so there's like a default position.
Default position. So 0, because we want it to be on a line.
In the middle, okay.
And then instead of minus 150, which would put it down, we want it to be higher up, meaning 150.
Okay.
I'm going to just test that to see if it works. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Ah, cool.
And now we don't want the original sprite to be showing because it would kind of mess up the code.
So we're going to hide the original sprite first.
Yes.
Because we're going to clone it later. Okay.
So in looks, we're going to drag in a hide block.
Right.
And connect that there.
Yep. I think that makes sense. Yep.
So I'm now going to add in a forever block. And then I'm going to use something that some people haven't actually seen.
Mm-hmm.
I only learned it 1 or 2 years ago.
Okay. So what are you going to use? You're going to do...
We're going to create a clone. Which
okay.
You'd think it was probably in events, but it's not. Because it will create a clone and then it has a when status clone.
So I guess a clone is a copy of this sprite and the sprite's position and variables.
With extra code.
And that sprite is then independent of the original sprite. So you can have many of those copies doing...
whatever they want.
Different things, I guess.
Different things.
Okay. That means you can have more than one of these candies on the screen at once.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we don't want it to clone itself like mass clones.
Right.
So we're going to wait a few seconds before cloning again.
Okay.
But I think if we clone it like once every 2 seconds all the time, then it will be very easy to catch it.
Too predictable.
Too predictable, yes. So we're going to change that to a pick a random.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 to 5 is good.
So between 2 and 5 seconds, we may get another clone suite.
Yes.
And
So we're going to test it again. So let's see if it clones. We
well,
can't actually see
hidden.
it because it's hidden. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a good time to save your work, though.
Good time to save your work. So now we've got it creating clones, but we can't see them yet.
Yes.
Right.
So now we're going to do some stuff with clones.
Yeah.
Where the actual block to start the clones running and doing their thing isn't in events.
It's in control.
It's in control.
And that has when I start as a clone. So it's grouped with the other clone blocks, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
So now we're going to... So we have a few costumes of the sprite I chose.
Ah, okay.
So we don't want it to just be the code it heart. We also want it to be other ones. So we're going to change the costume to a random costume. So if we go back, if we go to looks, then we can find the switch costume block.
And if people are using their own sprites, could they perhaps use color effects randomly or something like that if they wanted to?
Yeah, they can use color effects.
Or multiple costumes.
Yeah, so they can use whatever they really want.
I guess the whole point here is that they would randomize it. So if you show me the random part. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead there.
So if we drag in another pick a random block from our operators again.
Okay.
Then we can go to, I think since it's 4, we want it to choose from 1 to 4.
It's 4.
sprites.
Does that mean 4 costumes? Okay, so that later number would match the number of costumes you got to choose from. So it's got you. Yeah.
If you had 3, then you put 3 instead of 4. So yes. And now we want it to go to. So we don't want all of the heart candies to spawn in one spot, like on a line. So we want to kind of randomize it again with another pick random.
Okay.
So we want it to be anywhere really on the x-axis.
Okay.
Because otherwise it's too predictable.
Yeah, you don't want to just hold your bowl in one place. Okay, show us how you're going to do that then.
So we'll drag in a go-to block, and we've got the 150 already there.
Well, just had a wonderful suggestion from Happy Android, which is you can make your own phrases for the hearts.
Exactly, that's
Sweet.
an amazing idea.
Okay. All right. Sorry, you were going to add random for this then.
Random time. So I already know this, but some people might not.
Mm-hmm.
So the x-axis like border sort of thing, like where it ends, is minus 240 to 240.
Okay.
So we're going to get another from operators, another pick random, But instead of 1 do something, we're going to do minus numbers. Minus 240 to 240.
So it can spawn anywhere on the screen.
Anywhere on screen, we can spawn.
Anywhere along a line on the screen, I should probably
An
be clear.
invisible line.
Yeah.
And if we go back to looks, we want the clones to show.
Okay.
Since the original is hiding, when we start the clone, it will not show.
That makes sense. Okay.
So if I put show there, we're going to test that.
Yep.
Now it won't fall down like it did in the test.
We haven't added that code yet. So if you do it, you should see some spawn randomly in the top.
We'll have to wait a little bit. Yep.
There's another one. Okay, excellent. So
it's
and when we hit stop, all the clones disappear.
Because they're just clones.
That makes sense. Okay, wonderful.
Now, we're going to save it, just so then we don't lose the work.
Always a good idea.
Before. And now we're going to probably continue in just a few seconds.
Oh, right, yeah, give people some time to catch up. Someone's also suggested changing the shape.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You can change it to.
I mean, if it's a vector costume, I guess you can change all kinds of properties of it, right?
Yes.
You could do round ones and all kinds of shapes, or even more sweetie-like shapes. Well, good stuff. So we're going to start on the next block, I suppose.
Yes. So the next part of the code.
Yeah.
It's not a new block, so yes.
And is this where we're going to make it fall down?
Yes, and also in this block, we're also going to make the score change when it hits the ball sprite.
Let's make it fall down first, I guess.
Yes. So at first I was thinking let's use a forever, but we're actually going to use a repeat until. So then it will stop after it falls down to the bottom.
Right, because you don't want them to carry on falling when they've dropped. Excellent.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we're going to put something in that repeat until.
Yeah.
So from operators, I'm going to get an equals sign block.
Yeah.
So if something equals something, then it will do something or something like that.
Okay, so if there's something equals something. So what are we going to put in the first part of that then?
Well, we're going to put from the motion, another one of those round blocks.
Ah, okay.
So like in the bowl,
we had a round block.
We had a round block for the mouse X. Now we're going to have a round block for the X position.
Is it X position if it's falling down?
Oh, no, Y position. Thanks for correcting me.
No problems.
So now the borders for the Y are 180 to minus 180.
Yeah.
So we want it falling down, meaning we want minus 180.
Okay, so plus 180 is going up the screen and minus 180 is going down the screen.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we're going to make it fall down.
Yeah.
So we're going to do some, instead of using the move steps, because that won't work, we're going to use change Y and change X, but we're only going to use Y this time. So -5 is good if you want it to be at a good speed.
And am I right in saying that probably needs to be a multiple of your Y position?
Yes. So if it was 7, for example, then you would not be able to hit the line. It would just fall down.
Right. So keep that a multiple.
5 or 10 are good.
Okay.
5 and 10 are good. 9 is good too, if you want to be mean.
Oh, I see. So anything that's a multiple of 180 will do. 6.
Yes. 6, 9, anything.
Just not so. Okay. What's next then?
And now we're going to do if touching the top of the bowl sprite, not just the bottom part.
Are we ready
then it will add a score.
Are we ready to demo it falling before we go and start adding the if? Just so I can see the...
So here it is falling. It won't do anything right now.
Oh, I see. And they just stop at the bottom of the screen and...
fall past.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to save again.
Yep. And is everyone with us on this so far? Is anyone having any problems? Have people got this to work? Okay, so you're going to add a check.
A checking block, basically.
Right.
So we're going to go into the control area again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to drag in an if-then block.
Right.
And Now we don't want it to just touch the bowl, so if we put touching bowl, then it could just touch the bottom, and then it would still get a point, which is cheating, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to drag in a touching color block.
So Utux has just pointed out, by the way, you could use a less than comparison in the repeat until, which means you wouldn't have to worry about the multiple.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That is a good idea. That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
So now we're going to fill this touching color.
Mm-hmm.
On Scratch 3, I'm not sure if they do it on Scratch 2, but on Scratch 3, there's a little color picker.
Okay.
So it will basically show you where you can pick it. So
okay, so you can choose a
you can
color
pick
from
whatever
the
you want.
screen.
Yes,
And you want to choose the bowl color.
the top of the bowl,
Top of the bowl.
not just this part.
Got you. Okay.
So
there's a slight warning in that if your backdrop happens to have the same color as the top of the bowl, you may have problems. So you want to make
Yes.
the top of the bowl or bag slightly different from the backdrop colors. Okay.
So now we're going to do some stuff with the scoring, I guess.
Okay.
So we're going to go to the variable area.
Mm-hmm.
And here we've got the set, change, show, and hide of
Yeah.
variables that my dad and I showed earlier. So we're going to drag out the change by 1, but we're not going to have lives, because if it changes lives by 1, then we just get more lives.
Right.
And that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So we're going to do change score by 1.
Right. Okay. Makes
So
sense.
now we're going to add in a broadcast. that
Hold
we
on.
will
So
use-
before we get to that, so we're going to change the score. And is this something we can now test, or is it going to? Is it testable?
Yeah, it's testable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not testable.
Do we need to be deleting the clone?
Yeah, we
At
do.
any point?
That's why.
Okay.
But we'll add that later. So it's not exactly testable right now.
Ah, okay. Right.
Now we're going to add a broadcast message, like I said before, that we'll use later on,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll get to that in one of the last steps, I think.
So, okay. And what are we going to
later.
broadcast here then?
So you can call it whatever you want, as long as you know what it is.
Right.
I'm just going to call it score up.
Okay. So to
so-
notify the rest, to tell the rest of the game that we've scored. Okay. Yep.
Yes.
Cool.
So now we'll add that.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have to add 2 more blocks.
Yeah.
I went too far. And delete this clone, which is under clone
that's-
myself.
So under the control in the clone area, we've got delete this clone.
So we're going to add that underneath the broadcast message, and also underneath the repeat until. So what it means is that when it gets to minus 180 Y position, then it will delete the clone,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it will not do anything anymore, and it will hide,
Got
basically.
you. And it'll do it if it's scored as well.
Yes.
So it doesn't keep
So
scoring.
then it doesn't just like you said.
Also in chat, so Happy Android says that Scratch 2 does have the eyedropper for the background.
That's great.
Cool.
So anyone on Scratch 2 can still do it.
Cool. So this now should be demoable and it shouldn't give really big scores, hopefully. Do you want to give that a go then? Give that a whirl.
I'm gonna full screen it this
Okay.
time, so then everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Now here we have,
Oh, okay. So that's starting to look like a game.
yeah, apart from the eggs. In
And
the
so
middle.
if you miss one, what happens?
if I miss one, then it will
Just
still.
got to wait for one to come along. And it disappears too. Okay, awesome.
So
So I guess that's a good moment also for
saving.
saving and
Catching up
people
if
to
you
let us
need
know
to.
if they need to catch up or if there's anything they're stuck on. Just while they're doing that, do you want to try putting in that less than? So if
Yeah.
you go to operators,
It's a great idea. So we're gonna add an. I'm gonna add an or.
no, not an or, just an out of less than here. So we can just say less
No,
than.
but we need an or.
So you can say repeat until greater than 180. Oh, I see. Okay, you're going to do that. Okay, so you're doing greater than or equal to. Well, if you say until less than 50, it'll always be less than 50. So it's going to have to be until greater than. Oh, you'll see, 180. Sorry.
Yeah, but we're going down. So if it's more than, then it will do something else.
Ah, yes, of course, that's true.
So I got
Right.
it. So
You
now
need the
we're
Y
going to another
position.
Y position. And now if I change this to -7, it should still delete.
Let's see if that still works.
It's going quickly. If you
Because
want to
you
be
said 7.
mean, then you can do this.
Okay, don't catch it. Let it drop, remember? Yep, that still works.
deletes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that suggestion, Utux. Utux 2. Okay.
I'm going to change that back.
To 5 because it was a bit hard. Okay, so that's the code for the heart candy sprite.
And that's all we'll need for the heart candy sprite for now.
Okay, so which sprite is next?
Next, we're going to work on the egg sprite. And we're going to make it go to places, a resets point, basically.
So we're going to do some of the same tricks we did with the candy sprite.
Much of the same tricks.
Okay.
Now I'm actually going to do something a little bit easier, so then we don't waste time on making the code all over again. Since we only really need to change the seconds or something, the go-to will need to change. Maybe, I'm not sure.
So we'll change the numbers because the code is largely the same.
We can just duplicate it. So in Scratch 2, you duplicate the code and then drop it down in the egg sprite or in whatever bad sprite you have.
Yeah.
But in Scratch 3, you can just drag it and
makes a copy.
In here, now we've got this.
Okay.
So we're also going to do that for the other block of code. Now, there's something that I'm going to show people.
Yeah.
Which is if your code is like this, it's all clumped up. Then if you right click, this is in Scratch 2 and Scratch 3, you can clean up the blocks, meaning they'll go in like an order.
Oh, that's very nicely formatted and all lined up. Okay, I like that.
I quite like it too, and I use it quite frequently. So now...
Hello. Keep going then.
Now we're going to change the seconds. Now we don't want to have it to spawn too much, so 5 is a bit too little, basically. So I think that 7 or 8 is good.
So it'll spawn slightly slower than the candy, giving people a slightly better chance of getting sweets. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Now let's see how many costumes there are in this egg sprite, because I don't actually know. And there are 6 sprites, meaning that we have to change this 4 to a 6.
Okay. So for anyone following along, just to recap, so we've in the egg sprite, we've drag and drop copied the code from the heart candy sprite into the egg sprite, and now you've changed it for a different wait time and a different number of costumes in the random costume picker. Yes. Okay.
So that's all we've done so far.
Okay.
So I am now going to change a little bit of this code down here, because we still want it to go down. Yeah. But instead of changing score, we want it to change lives and by -1.
Yes, that makes sense.
And we don't actually need this broadcast because nothing's going to happen here. So it will just change the lives and then be done.
Okay.
And there's another thing that we need to add here, which is something to check if the lives equals 0.
Right. Okay.
So we're going to drag in a when flag clicked again, and forever if lives equals 0.
Where did so you went to the operators to get the equals block, okay,
and then we go to variables and drag in the round lives
0,
and if it equals 0, then we wanted to end the game, so we'll put in a stop all from control. Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay. Oh, right. We've got a question about how long Helena's been using Scratch. So Helena is 11, and she's been using Scratch about 5 or 6 years, since you're about 6. So been using it for a fair amount of time. What's the egg for? Okay, so the egg is going to be I guess
it's like the bad candy, like something.
The enemy.
The enemy. So you
don't want to collect eggs. If you collect the eggs, you lose a life. So imagine you're out with your candy bowl or your pumpkin or your bag, and you want to get sweets, and someone gives you an egg instead. Maybe not even cooked.
Almost like, I think there's something about Christmas where you get coal if you're bad. So something like that, sort of.
Got you. Yeah.
And now that we've got the lives like this, we also want to save it and test it, probably.
Okay.
So I'm going to, on purpose, catch an egg. So
Oh, and you can
lives
see
is
the
4.
lives going down.
And
Yeah.
I'm just going to catch a few so then you can see that it stops.
Yeah.
Which it will. And one more egg that I need to catch. And here we go. So it's ended, and that's all.
So someone has said it might be you could use lives less than 1 to be safe. It's yes, that's true. It's highly unlikely we'd end up with 2 eggs on screen, but it's possible. So you can end up with lives at -1, and then the game carries on.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good idea.
So that might be a bug we can fix later, because we carry on where we're at. Just because I'm also. But thank you for that, Joseph. That might be something we'll add into the notes for later.
So
we'll fix that.
Now I'm going to do some stuff with the list that we made earlier.
Ah, we're going to do some list things. Okay, and we're going to do that in which? Okay, I see. So it's all sprites, so you can do it here.
It's all sprites. We don't.
Okay,
really
so hold on. So we've now got it. So the eggs are doing the same as the sweets in terms of dropping down the screen, and when you collect an egg in your bowl, you lose a life.
Yes.
It removes the egg clone. It's also making sure it doesn't go off the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
And if you run out of lives, it stops the game, stops everything.
That's all.
Cool. Okay.
And now we're going to do some stuff with the list, which, like I said earlier,
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be for when we, it's leveling up, basically. So what scores do we need to level up?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to add, click on the add button, and I'm going to add some, 10 and multiples of 25.
Okay, so some different score levels.
So I'm only going to go up to 1,000.
She's hitting the little plus sign there. Yeah. And just so she could see this, by the way, she went to the looks category and hit the, was it in the looks? No, it was in the, in the variables. Okay, and you unticked the tick box on the variable. Okay.
No, so I reticked it.
Reticked it. Okay, so you've got to retick it to see it. Fantastic. Okay.
So I'm going a little bit high, and I know if anyone gets to 1,000... You have
to be pretty dedicated to play it to 1,000.
Yeah, if anyone gets 1,000, I give up. I've gotten to 25 once, and then I've given up because it's probably not a good time.
Excellent. So now we've added, so these are going to be a bunch of different score levels where we're going to get a reward for hitting that level. Okay.
So wonderful. I'm going to keep that showing for now.
Right.
And it's a good time to save, probably. I'll give people a little bit of time to catch up and add all the...
So have people managed to go and add themselves some score levels into their triumph list?
I'm going to slow down for some people because I'm a little bit quick. So
yes, okay.
I'm going to show the code again and not redo it completely, just go through it a little bit quicker.
So if people let us know if there's any area of code that they've missed or want us to fill in, please do so in the chat, and we'll definitely try and help you and show that area of the code.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to probably work on a bit of the music now because we added sounds. And we want some coin sounds and triumph sounds for when we level up. Ah,
okay. So sounds and music to make the game come alive a bit. Okay.
So the first thing that we're going to do is probably add the background music in.
Okay.
So we're going to go to events and drag in our event block again.
Yeah.
And then go to control and drag in a forever.
So drag in forever loop. Okay. Yeah.
And now we're going to add in the play cave sounds until done. But we don't want to add in start sound cave because if we add that in, then it will just forever play the start of it and then play it again. So we want the play until done. So
it waits for that to be done before going back around the forever loop and playing it again.
Yes.
Otherwise, it'll play many cave sounds mashed together as it goes through the loop. Okay.
And that won't sound very good at all.
Okay, makes sense. Yes.
So we're probably going to do some of that, the coin sounds and the triumph sounds now too.
Yep.
So we're going to go back into the bowl sprite, which is where we added the triumph and the coin sound over there.
Mm-hmm.
And we want when the score reaches something from the list over here,
Right.
it will play a triumph sound, and else, if it's just normally caught, it will play a coin sound.
Okay, so we get a different sound when we've reached a new level. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Okay.
So yes, we're going to do that now. And do you remember the broadcast message we put in earlier?
Saying when we've got a score. Yes, yeah, when we've got a new score. Okay.
So we're going to make sure that when we receive it, so when we get it back, that we play the noises, but we don't want it to always do it. So if we put this in a forever loop and the score was 10, then it would just play triumph again and again and again.
So you want it to be triggered by the broadcast message?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So we're going to go back down here and we're going to work on some of the blocks that...
So this is in variables and you've scrolled down to where the lists are. Okay, yes.
So I'm going to add in a triumph contains thing.
Right.
We don't want it to be thing, so I'm going to slow down just a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to add in score. So here.
So if the triumph list contains score, so we're checking that if the score we've got is contained within that list on the screen. Yeah?
Yes, I'm just going to...
So if the score was any of those points, 10, 25 or 50, then you'll have the first part of that if. Okay, cool. What are we going to do then when it is?
So now we're going to do some stuff with the noises. And we're going to go to sound. And we've got the play sound until done. And you can do play sound until done, or you can do start sound. It doesn't really matter right now. I'm going to drag in until done because I want to. And here we want to play triumph.
Until done. Okay, so it'll wait there. And that means that while it's playing the triumph, we won't get the other score messages, but that's fine because it will keep that sound going. Okay.
And then here we're going to do start sound coin. So if triumph plays in between, then it will...
So you can still have overlapped coin sounds.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we're going to save it very quickly. And we're just waiting for people
to... this now? Is this demoable?
It's demoable.
Let's do a demo of this then.
We're going to hide the triumph list for now, but I'll show it again just in case anyone needs it.
Okay, yep. There we go.
This is also shared on my Scratch profile, so if you want to see the project being made right now, you can go to it and see. See
the Scratch profile, and you can see inside to see the code as well.
Yes.
Okay, so if you show us the demo then, so you're on full screen for that.
Sounds.
Sound should be on, I think. Do you want to try it? Let's see.
Oh, sounds are off.
Sounds are off. Okay.
Still.
All right. So if you press stop for a second.
Just 1 second.
Okay. So if you hit the play again.
That's a bit loud.
Okay.
That's good, I guess.
There we go. So we've got the background music going and should be able to hear the coin collect noise.
If I very quickly take out the cave sound, so I can just demo that the coin sound there.
Okay.
So we'll go back in here. So we can't hear the music anymore.
But you can hear the coin sound. Yep.
So there's the coin. And I'm going to just drag that in because we need it back.
If you dupe the cloning and add the if score up number, it will speed up. That's an interesting idea.
Tim Baker, my Scratch profile is Mini Orion Robots.
Mini Orion Robots,
with
okay.
An underscore. I'll just, so
okay.
capital.
We can pick that up and share that out offline, I guess. We'll share that later.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to continue now.
We just look at the code for the heart candy sprites for a second.
So heart candy sprite.
So at the top,
we've got some.
It sets the X position, Y position,
and
hides.
It clones itself. And then down here we've got what it does as a clone when it clones itself. So it will pick a random costume and then do some other stuff. So
JX also points out, you can see it on his profile, so people should be able to see it. Okay. So if we've done that demo, do you want to reconnect the music back in the backdrops?
It's already connected.
Oh, well done. And I guess there was something else you wanted to do with it. Was that if we go back to your bowl code?
See some more of the code just in case people want to capture
okay.
a bit. So we've got some of the egg sprite code. It's pretty much the same, just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the lives area where it will stop when.
So it's doing a loop
0.
to check lives. Okay.
Yes. So now we'll go back to the backdrop sprite.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when we get a score and it plays Triumph, we don't just want it to play over the background music, because obviously the background music is going to take over. It's
so
loud.
You don't want Cave and Triumph playing together because it would be a bit of a mess.
And also it will probably be the same for the score, but we're going to do a little bit different from that.
So you're going to do some trickery to make that work. Okay,
yes.
Show us what you're going to do then.
So we're going to drag in the receive block again.
Yeah.
So here we've got it. And we're going to add in another if, then, else. So,
right.
Yes. And now, in the sounds, they play at different times. So, for example, this is 0.18, I think, seconds, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is 4.06 seconds.
Yeah.
So, we don't want it to play, for example, 6 seconds while it's only 0.8 seconds. So we want it to be in sync, basically.
So you went there and just checked the sounds tab to check the lengths of the sound. So whichever sound you need, you'll need to use the length that you've got for your sounds.
The length is just in the corner underneath the name, just in case you want to know.
Yeah.
So it says 4.06, meaning it's 4.06 seconds.
Okay. Right, let's go then. So
let's
we go back to your code, I guess.
So
yep.
Now we're going to do some more stuff with the list, because if it's Triumph, we wanted to play for the sound, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
And if Triumph list contains thing, we don't want it to be thing.
Score again. Okay. Yeah.
And now we're going to go to sounds again.
Yeah.
And we want to set the volume to probably 5%, because we still want to hear it, but faintly.
Okay. Yep. So we're kind of making the audio quieter.
I remember that it's some. Now we need to.
Was it 4.06 seconds for the Triumph sound?
4.06. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dad. 4.06 seconds.
Yeah.
And now we want to set the sound back all the way back up afterwards.
Okay.
So I'm gonna actually duplicate this. And instead of, we're just gonna change the seconds, the time it will take,
to 0.18. Okay.
So here we've got a short.
Okay, that's excellent. Yeah.
And we're also going to save it now.
So should we demo that?
I think we're going to demo it.
Okay, so if we demonstrate this.
So.
Hit the button again. Yep. Okay, yes. I heard its sound then. Yeah. So and if you collect 10.
Let's just collect 10.
You should hear the level up sound.
We haven't actually demoed that yet, so we'll demo it now.
So now we've got the bit of painfully waiting to get more of the sweets.
I can always just set the score.
She's now got to actually play it to demo it.
Yes.
And you notice how that brought the Cave audio down while it played the other audio. Excellent.
So here's another few things that we can do, like embellishments.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it now because we don't have time, but maybe you can do it in your own time. So you can introduce some more like variables, like for example, if you want, you can introduce a variable to change, I don't know, whatever you want.
Well, one of the suggestions was you can make it speed up as you level up.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. And play sound maybe when you lose a life or something.
Maybe even a game over sound. Dun, dun, dun.
That's a good idea. Custom graphics, we've already talked about that.
People are already doing that, which is wonderful.
It's awesome.
Right.
So,
and I guess we could also make it shrink when it goes into the bowl.
yeah, so then we'll kind of go down into it, so it's kind of more realistic.
Okay, I think we're going to need to wrap up shortly on this one, are we?
Yes.
I don't know. We still got any? How? I guess you can come and ask us throughout the day if you want to find out how to do these. So you can always share your projects and ask for help from mentors.
Should I post a link to my profile in the thingies in the stream?
Well, we mentioned your profile, and I can always get it sent on the stream later.
Yeah, I'll send it soon, I guess.
Okay. Well,
so
I guess that's any more questions from anyone on this one? I think it might be back over to Peter.
So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I guess bye.
Wow, that was amazing. Lena and Danny, fantastic. I can't wait to try the project and do some of the embellishments you suggested. Awesome. So now we've got Louis, who's going to lead us through an HTML-based game and use some JavaScript. So have a great time. I can see his desktop. And Louis, hi there, Louis. How are you doing?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Loud and clear. Over to you.
So there should be a link that should be posted in chat about now. If someone could do that, that'd be great. But I'll sort of do an introduction to what we're doing today. So today we're sort of doing like an introduction, sort of making games using JavaScript. And so the game we're going to make isn't complicated, but the idea is that hopefully there'll be some stuff here that that you can use to make more complicated games. So everything is sort of written out in tutorial form here, but I'm going to be going through it. And the point of this is that if you miss something I say, or you get a bit behind and you don't quite catch up, you can sort of go over it again. And also there's a few sort of extra bits you can go on to at the end. Because my hope today is that we can kind of try and get through as much as possible, even try and get to the end. I don't know how long it's going to take with technical difficulties. But there are some extensions at the end, and it'll be really awesome if we can get to those, because then we can spend some time at the end for you guys just to pick something you want to improve of what you've done so far, and then we can help you in the chat for the final bit of time. So it would be great if everyone can go to that link that's on the screen. Now, I don't know. Does anyone? Do you guys want to say what your experience is in terms of like how much sort of HTML and JavaScript you guys have done in the past? Because that'd be quite useful to help me know how fast or slow I need to go with this. I know not everyone's necessarily typing in chat, but for those who are, let me know sort of what your level of experience is. I'll just give a few minutes for people to go to that link. Once you go to that link, it'd be great if you can go to Trinket and go and create an HTML project. I think there's some information in the document. I'll see that. But if you go to trinket.io, I don't know if a mentor can correct me on the chat, but do you need to have an account to start working on an HTML one? So I don't know. So personally, what I did is I created an account quickly. You can create one for free, and then where'd you go again? I forgot this. Give me a second. Can't quite remember how where the button is. I don't know if any mentor on the chat remembers where the button to create a new project is. Here we go. Yeah. Then you go to new Trinket and then choose HTML, and then you should get something that looks like this. Okay, cool. Apparently you don't need an account. That's great. Yeah, so I'm saying some people haven't really done much JavaScript before. That's all right. Have you guys ever done sort of any kind of textual programming, like for example Python maybe? It's all right if you haven't, but it will help because there's some stuff I may go too fast over if you haven't, because if you know what a variable is, that'd be really great. I mean, you may have done that in Scratch. Maybe you need to know what a function is. If you don't, no worries. I will go a bit slower over there just to explain what it is. That's fine. Cool. Yeah. So you've done Python. As I see when it's done, you will have some experience with this. Okay. I think we're pretty much ready to almost get started. I mean, if you guys can let me know in the chat once you've got this bit ready on Trinket. And in fact, when we look at the first tutorial, is literally just telling you to copy this code. This is just the boilerplate. You just need to use it to get started. Copy it into there, and let me know when you have something that looks like this. And then I'll know that everyone's sort of set up. Yeah. So once we got to the stage, we can start moving on and start doing the interesting bit. I think people are still getting set up through Trinket, so we'll just wait a little bit longer. Oh, by the way, I haven't just said the game we're making today. We're making a cookie clicker style game. So it's obviously a very not a very advanced game, but there are some features that you'll learn here. So I don't know if you guys have ever played with these online. Yeah. Oh, cool. I think some people seem to be getting set up now. Cool. Give it another minute because so far only one person, as far as I can see. Cool. Okay, I think there's some more people now. Fortunately, the first exercise is one that I want to. It's sort of going to do a bit of a recap. It's going to try and get you thinking. And the reason why is because I haven't written the answer in the tutorial, which means that you're going to sort of do a little bit looking up. But fortunately, I've left a link in there. I've left a link in there that you can sort of find. So if you get stuck with the next thing I'm about to tell you, there's a link in the hints section. I don't know if you see the hints section. If you go to this tutorial, which is called Introduction to HTML, and then you scroll down to chapter 5 on that link, you will find chapter 5 is all about images. Which is what we're going to be doing. So if you get stuck on the thing I'm about to tell you, go to that link, go to chapter 5, and you'll see everything there. Okay, so the first thing we need in these kind of cookie clicker style games, you always start by manually baking cookies. Which the idea is you have like an image of a cookie, and you can click on it, and each time you click on it, it bakes a new cookie. And then what you do is we then use the cookies as currency to try and buy chefs or bakeries or factories. And you sort of like then those can automatically bake cookies for you. But at the start, we just need an image that you can click on to bake a cookie. So your first task is to actually one thing I really quickly explain. I'm willing to bet that most of you haven't seen this before in HTML. This is called a comment. So many languages have comments. So in Python, if you've ever seen a hash sign, you'll know that anything after that hash sign is ignored and is not treated as code. Same with JavaScript, if you have like 2 slashes, it's not treated as code. In HTML, anything between these sequence of characters and then these sequence of characters are treated as are ignored. It lets you write messages in code. So your first task is to replace this comment here. So we can delete this and replace it with an image. It needs to be an image of a cookie. So you need to look online for an image of a cookie. So for example, I found one earlier. And you need to make sure it ends in, you need to find the URL of that image. So it should end in either JPEG or PNG or something like that. Once you found that link, this is where hopefully if you've done a bit of HTML before, you might know how to do this. So you need to create an image tag and you set the source attribute to point to a URL. And again, if you haven't done that in a while or you're a bit unsure, it is explained if you go to the hints section. So the tasks are written out here. But if you go below to the hints section, there's a link to another tutorial. If you go to chapter 5, you'll see how to add an image with a URL. If anyone's not clear on what I'm asking them to do, just let me know in the chat. But just to reiterate, you need to add an image with a URL that points to a cookie. I will give you a couple minutes to do that, and then I'll do it myself. Again, if you're rusty, no worries, you can find it. So I'll just give you guys a few minutes. There's extra information here as well, which isn't too important to go into right now. But if you're interested in sort of seeing if there's some things you haven't seen before, I've tried to guess some of the things that you may not have seen before, and I tried to write and explain them here. But there may be some other things you haven't seen before that you want me to explain. If you at any point there's something that you're a bit unsure about, just let me know in the chat. Even if I don't respond, there are some other mentors who all know Python and will help you pretty quickly. But if anyone's ever done CSS before, and you think back to when you have classes and IDs, you may or may not have done this, but you can give an element an ID, and that lets you then access that element uniquely. So through CSS, but we can also do that through JavaScript, which is what we're going to be doing today. But if you've done CSS before, you may be already familiar with what we're going to do. Okay, about in a minute from now, I will do the solution. And please let me know if we're going too fast or anything like that. Because if it's too fast for one of you, it's probably too fast for a couple of you as well. And also, if you've done it, let me know as well. That'd be useful. Because maybe this is easy for you guys. I don't know. So if you have done it, let me know as well. Cool. Okay, let's go get another 20 seconds. And I will do the solution. Cool. Okay. So I have my URL here, so I'm going to copy it, and it's important that it ends in .jpeg or .bng or something like that. It's not a link to a website that contains the image of a cookie, but it's a link to the actual image. Anyway, so now I've deleted that comment, and I'm writing an image tag. I'm saying src, short for source, to say where it's from. I'm going to paste in that URL. Unfortunately, it's going to be really big, and it's gonna that's not very useful as a website. It's way too big. We need it way smaller. So what we can do is we can add another attribute. I can say width equals and then some number. So I'm going to pick 300 pixels. That's way smaller, way better. Now I can see what's going on. So just to reiterate, I got the URL, I put it into the source attribute, and then I set the width here. I don't know if anyone realizes this, but image is a special tag. So most tags, you open them and then close them. So you see P and then /P. Image there's no closing tag. So you just open it and then you don't close it. So there's no, at the end of here, there's no closing tag. There's no /image. There's just the angle bracket image, the attributes, and then the closing angle bracket. Okay. Is everyone okay to move on? I'm going to assume that everyone is, because I think that's not too difficult at this point. Right, I think I'm going to move on. Cool. All right, we're going to move on. So the next thing to do is actually get started with JavaScript. So we're now looking at the third chapter on here called Baking Your Cookies, if you're following on through that. So we need to create a new file called game.js. So in Trinket, you can go hit the plus icon here and then type game.js. Okay, so .js is short for JavaScript. And by the way, just for reference, Java is a completely different language to JavaScript. Just to let you know. So we can add our code here. Now, I found this is because Trinket does auto reload. The thing that I wanted to do to test this might end up being very annoying. So it might be better that you guys just see. You might be able to test, but I'll show you why it's a bit annoying in a second. So I'm going to paste this alert into game.js, and if we reload it, which it already has, nothing's happening yet. Okay, so the reason why is because we're running this page, but this page, this index.html, doesn't reference game.js anywhere. In nowhere did it say you import the code from game.js. So we need to do that. For various reasons, it's not too important to think about right now. It's convenient for us to add it at the bottom, but it needs to be within body, but at the bottom of body. So I'm putting it down here, which is the place that you should put it to. It's going to say script source equals game.js, and don't forget the slash script. Trinket should auto put it in. Now this is why I'm saying it gets a bit annoying, because of the way that Trinket works, is because it auto reloads and the alert will sort of go all over your screen, which sort of is kind of annoying when you're typing. But if you get that, what you want to do is go straight to game.js and then delete it. If it starts to create an issue and it keeps on displaying alerts, what you need to do is you need to hit the button that says that. Hold on, it'll come in a second. It's not okay. No, here you go. Hit the checkbox that says prevent this page from creating additional dialogues, and then you'll never see the alert again, which will be good if you're having issues. But yeah. Oh yeah. So just I point that you can turn auto reload off. That's a good point. Where is that? I don't see where the turn auto reload off is. Oh, sorry, there it is. Yeah, I guess you do click to run. Cool. This is just a test. Oh, okay, so someone's stuck. If you have a link, I don't think you can. I don't know if you can share the trinkets. I'm not. Actually, yeah, I think if you name it, you can share it. So it might be good to share it with to a mentor or to describe the problem. We're at the point where you can delete the alert now. If you see the alert once, then it's good to delete. The reason why why I added the alert was to make sure that the JavaScript code is running. Once you see one alert, you know it's running. We can delete the alert. I'm gonna hold on for a minute just so we can see if we can fix some technical difficulties. Anyone else having difficulties? Anyone else, or don't you know if you've seen the alert, or if you're working towards getting to that point? Yeah. So just say in the chat if you've got your code to print the alert, or if you're having difficulty getting that to work. Okay. Didn't see the alert. Okay, so if you didn't see the alert, could you make sure you hit the run button? If you still don't see the alert, then that means that you haven't input, the JavaScript code isn't running. So as soon as you see the alert, go straight to game.js and delete the alert line, and that will stop it from coming up again and again. Sorry, if you don't see the alert, make sure you've got this line here. That's really important. Make sure this is at the bottom of your file and it says game.js. They should so game.js should match up with the file name here. So if you misspelled this or you misspelled this file name here, then that could be an issue. If you just joined, you can go to, I don't know if the link isn't okay. Because somebody posts the link, the original link, in the chat, and you could it's sort of all written out there, so you can sort of catch up quite easily, hopefully. I don't know if someone can post a link to the tutorial here. That'd be great. Oliver, have you fixed the issue with you? So have you seen the alert yet? I think I'm going to move on because I think people seem to be seeing the alerts. One person hasn't, Oliver. So if you're having similar issues, it'd be great to post a link to your code. Cool. I'm a gamer. Could you post a link to your trinket? So I think you've got to name it first and then try and post a link to it. And that will let a mentor see what's wrong and give you a hand. If you find an image online, hit right click and then it will say like view. It will say like view image or something. It depends on your browser. Make sure the URL ends in .jpeg or .png. I think we're going to move on. Okay. Could you post the link to your code? That'd be really useful for someone to help you to get unstuck. Do you know how to post a link to your code? If you don't, could you just try and ask someone in chat? Because I can't really help you until I know what exactly you're doing right now. So I will start moving on. Hopefully, somebody can give you a hand. Again, if you joined late, there are you can go to the URL on the screen, and that has everything we started doing so far. So all the tutorial is written out there. Basically, what I've said so far is all there. And yeah, again, but if that was copy and paste what they got so far, that's fine as well. Okay, I think I'm gonna move on now because I think there's something getting there. So we've got the alert. Most people got the alert to work. So now you actually do the bit where it's sort of the JavaScript code to actually to simulate baking the cookies. So the first thing to figure out is how we're going to store the number of cookies that have been baked, because that's quite an important thing. And the way we do that is with it using a variable. So I'm going to say var cookie count equals 0. So at the start, we start with 0 cookies. Yep. So once we've got that storage done, we now just make a function to sort of simulate baking cookies. So I'm going to copy that in. So a function, for those who don't know, is a way of sort of labeling a block of code, and it means that you can sort of run it again later. So what I've done is I've given this block of code, everything between the curly braces is a block of code, and I've labeled it bake cookies. And you can pass in parameters, and parameters are things in the brackets. So here, bake cookies takes in a parameter of number of cookies, and then what it does is it takes the cookie count, and then it sets it equal to the old cookie count plus the new number of cookies that were baked. Right. So the idea is that I can go bake cookies 10, and then 10 will take the place of number of cookies variable here, and so it will say. So in our case, it will say cookie count equals 0 plus 10. And then so cookie count will now equal 10. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. That's what this function does. Now, the issue is that if I okay, let's think on a tiny bit. So hopefully a JavaScript function. Could somebody post a link of a cookie picture? Because I don't have the chat on this computer, so I can't copy it between computers. So great, someone could post a link of a cookie picture. Let's do this. Actually, we need to call this function every time somebody clicks the cookie. So what we can do is we can go to our image, and there's another attribute we can say. But if you can't, you know what? You probably post a link. For some reason that I can't see the link in the chat. If you posted it, it's not there. Sometimes YouTube may have issues posting links. Oliver, if you're posting a link, no, we can't see it for some reason. I'm not too sure why. Okay. Anyway, so we can add an attribute to our image, which is onClick. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to specify some JavaScript code. To run every time it's clicked. So in this case, we want to run the function bake cookies 1, because the idea is every time you click the image, it counts as baking 1 cookie and 1 cookie only. So if we run this, nothing happens. We click on it and we don't see anything happening. Hold on. Just gonna send this on here. Is my screen blurry? Sometimes that happens if I might just stop sort of moving around, because it sometimes gets better over time if you don't move it too much. Yeah, I'm sorry if it's blurred. That's quite annoying. But again, all of the stuff I'm talking about now is duplicated in the more detailed written out document. So if there's something you can't see, I'm always getting it from that other screen. So make sure you look at that. What I'll do is I'll try and make sure I don't flip between screens too much. Okay. So yes, so I click it and nothing happens, right? The question is does this do what we think it does? What's broken, right? We're calling the function here with 1. That seems to be able to do cookie count equals old cookie count plus 1. What's wrong? This should be increasing, and the fact is that it probably is increasing. It's just that we're not actually displaying it anywhere. So this number is probably increasing, but we're not displaying it here, which is where it really matters. So this is where we need to start figuring out how to interact between JavaScript and HTML. Okay, and what we can do is we can use a thing called we can access individual HTML elements using JavaScript code. So here we have a paragraph tag, and then inside the paragraph tag we have a span around the number 0. And that span has the ID cookie count. Yeah. And so what we can do is we can, if we get the span element, and then just we always do is we just need to change what's inside that element each time we make a cookie to whatever the new number is. So I can say var element. So element here is the name, we're going to assign that to be this span tag here, equals document.query selector. And if you've done CSS, you'll know the sort of syntax. So hashtag is for IDs. So the span tag here has an ID of cookie count. So this will select all elements with the ID cookie count, which in this case is just 1, which is just that single span tag that wraps around the 0 here. And then what we do is we say elements.innerHTML equals, and then cookie count. What it will do is it will replace anything that's inside this span tag with the new updated cookie count. Now it's important that we set the inner HTML after we add to it, because otherwise we use the old value each time, which won't be an issue, but too much. But it will always be out of sync by a small amount, which might be a bit annoying. So now I click on it, and every time I click on it, it adds one. I'm going to pause here and let me know when you get it so that it says you have X number of cookies and it increases each time you click on it. If you're struggling getting to that point, please let me know. But if you get to that point, also say it in chat so we can start to move on. So yeah, and again, all of this is in that other document. Hopefully, you should be able to copy and paste it from there if you get a bit stuck. So we've now completed the chapter 3 on the other document. So you can move on if you want, but before you move on, just let us know that you are moving on, so then I can sort of think whether I can move on as well. So right now it's 3:21. In 2 minutes, so at 3:23, I will start moving on to chapter 4, unless people are already ready. So at least one person's ready. That's good. I'm going to wait for at least a few more. Okay, looks like a few more ready. I'm just going to see one or two more people, and then I'll move on. Is anyone having an issue? That's also really important to let us know. If you're just happy typing away and coding, great. But if you have an issue, please let us know. For people who are ready, why don't you start reading the next bit? Okay. Start reading the next bit. So it looks like somebody's Karina, so it looks like your cookies density has been increasing. If you post the link to your trinket, I don't know, it seems like YouTube maybe is not allowing links to be posted, which might be quite annoying. But have a go at trying to post a link to your trinkets. Make sure you first give it a name, and then it'll give you a unique link, which we can then access on. So the reason why it might not be increasing is, does your code have this bit as well? Do you see var element equal document.query selector, all this stuff, and then element.initHTML equals cookie count? That's the bit that actually increases it. Another thing, do you have this function on image? So image, do you have that? Did you add the attribute saying on click equals and then bake cookies 1? Does bake cookies match the name of your function here? These are all kind of issues that may be. Is that yes to all of that stuff I just said? Because then I'm not too sure. It'd be great to post a link so we can sort of have a closer look. If you're still struggling, I would copy and paste the code and then maybe make like a small typo, which might have been it. I think I'm going to move on now. Sure, I'll put my screen here. I'll stick on the screen for another minute. Then I'll move on. Has that helped, Karina? Okay, I think we're going to move on now. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the buttons so you can actually buy stuff. So we're going to edit our shop. It's probably easiest just to simply copy and paste these buttons. By Oliver. Glad you can make it for the start. So I'm going to paste these buttons here. Karina, if you post a link, it's after the colon. We don't see it. I think, at least I can't see it. It's really annoying. Try breaking up. Could you instead of posting the full link to Trinket, could you post everything after the / here, and then a mentor? Could you then enter the start of this link, and then go to the end, and then just copy and paste what they paste at the end? Because I think YouTube's getting rid of links if it detects them. Hopefully, it shouldn't detect this as a link. So if you post just this end bit, that'd be really great. Anyway, so we now got our buttons. So we've got 3 buttons here. And so I kind of thought like we had like a chef, a bakery, and a factory. So a chef costs 20 cookies, a bakery costs 200, and a factory costs 5,000, let's say. So if you notice, all these buttons have on clicks, which equal to, buy chef, buy bakery, buy factory. So these are all functions we need to make. So we got a few steps here. So we need to think about the different parts that we need to implement this. So we need a way of storing the number of chefs, bakeries, or factories that we have, a way of buying each as using like cookies as a currency. So subtracting from the number of cookies and then adding to the number of chefs or whatever. And then a way of updating the cookie count each second with the results of what they've baked. So I can't remember. I think I said that a chef bakes 1 cookie per second, and then what does a bakery do? A bakery does 5 per second, and then a factory does 100. So each second we need to have a function that calculates all the result of all the hard work of these 3. So let's start with the variables. Start with storing the number of bakers, all that kind of stuff. So let's create 3 variables at the top of our file. So we're going to have n chefs, number of chefs, and then number of bakeries, and then number of factories. No, this is not Python 3. This is HTML. Okay, n factories equals 0. So at the start, all of our you haven't hired any chefs, you haven't created any bakeries or factories, so they all start at 0. And then we're going to make 3 functions to actually let you buy them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write out one, and I'm going to copy the other 2 because I want to explain it a bit. So remember this function here, buy chef. That's due to the fact that we say on click equals by chef here. So this function will be run when we hit the chef button, right? So the first thing to do is so if a chef costs 20 cookies. So the first thing to do is we need to make sure they have enough cookies to buy it first. So we say if cookie count is greater than or equal to 20, so if they have at least 20 cookies or more, then they can buy it. Then we're going to do cookie count minus equal to 20. Oh yeah, minus equal to 20. So there's a thing which is so if you see here, I said cookie count equals cookie count plus number of cookies. I can shorten that to say cookie count plus equals numbers of cookies. What it will do is it will take the current cookie count and it will add the number of cookies and it will store that in the variable. Same kind of idea for minus equals. What it will do is it will take the current cookie count and subtract 20 from there and store it in the variable, right? So it does all those things at once, which is quite useful. And then we could do n chefs. N chefs plus equals 1. So every time you click the button, make sure you've got enough cookies. It will subtract the number of cookies from your bank account or whatever it is, and then it will add the number of chefs. We did a similar thing with the other 2. So we've got buy bakery, and bakeries cost 200. So we just make sure we've got at least 200. We then subtract 200, and then we add to bakeries. And then we just do buy factory. Say if cookie count is greater to 5,000, then subtract 5,000 from here, and then add 1 to the number of factories. I hope this kind of makes sense. It's not too complicated. If you're not quite sure, just sort of think it over for a bit. It works. We check we've got the right number of cookies, then we subtract that, and then we add 1 to the number of whatever it is, in this case chefs, in this case bakeries, in this case factories. Double check that if you copy and pasted each one, maybe make sure you haven't made like a mistake, because make sure it's chef and then it's chef here, it's bakery and bakery here, because it's very easy to accidentally sort of copy one function and then leave it as n chefs when it should be n bakeries, for example. So just be quite careful about that, because that's a quite easy way to get bugs. So we now have a way of buying cookies. So what I'll do is I'll just do a quick test for this. So if I go up to 20 and I click chef, oh, it hasn't loaded. Okay, so that hasn't worked. Why hasn't that worked? I need to reload it, don't I? Probably why. Hopefully this will work, otherwise we've got a bug on our hands. Oh, yes, we've got a bug. Ah, yes, I know why we got a bug. Forgot this. Oh, yes, this is interesting. So, the bug is that we subtract 20 from the cookies, and then we never set the inner HTML to be that cookie count. And the reason why, in fact, that the code on the tutorial has this wrong, right? And the reason why the reason why I didn't notice this before is because whenever you bought a chef, in a second later, the chef would then instantly bake a cookie, which would trigger this function to run, and then this would cause it to update the inner HTML. But right now we're not triggering that. It's kind of like an interesting problem. So what we're going to do instead, which is if we're finding bugs live here, which is fun, we can call the bake cookies function. Actually, you know what? We'll create another function called spend cookies. It takes a number of cookies. Basically, it's just a duplicate of this function. Number of cookies. By the way, you don't need to do this. Once we get the rest of the code working, you probably won't even notice this bug, because it'll be like for a split second, for less than a second, and then it will update. But this is better practice to do it this way. So what I'm doing here is I'm copying the bake cookies function, and it's basically going to be exactly the same. But instead of adding the number of cookies, it subtracts the number of cookies. So here the cookie count minus equals number of cookies instead of plus equals, and we're changing the name from bake to spend. And then that means is I can replace every time we do a subtract. Instead, let's just call the spend cookies function. Yeah, sorry about this. I should have checked this earlier. I just hadn't noticed it. But yeah, and this is better coding practice anyway. So now, hopefully, if there's another bug, we should be able to see that it works. Great. Okay, we buy a chef for 20 and we lose 20 cookies. Okay. Now we can go on to the next bit, which is actually sort of making the code that that calculates how many cookies each chef, bakery, factories has baked in the last second, and then updating it. Okay. So in my mind, I thought that all of these things were like automatic cookie baking. So that's why I use the word automatic as opposed to like manual is when you click on the image. In case you're wondering. So let's create a function called automatic cookie update. And so again, the goal of this function is to calculate the number of cookies that were baked in the last second by each chef, each bakery, each factory, and then add it to the total cookie count. So we can create a variable for new cookies, which is going to store the number of cookies we've just baked. And my idea was that chefs would bake 1 cookie per second. So what we can do is if we've got one chef baking 1 cookie per second, how many cookies is that chef going to bake in a second? 1. If we have 5 chefs which each bake 1 cookie per second, each second there are going to be 5 cookies. So the idea is we take the number of chefs and we multiply it by the number of cookies they bake per second, in this case 1, and that gives us the cookies they baked in that second. And it's a similar thing with each of the other ones, but instead of 1, and a bakery, I decided that it baked 5. You can pick whatever you want here. And then a factory bakes a whopping 100 cookies. And what we're doing is we've got this variable called new cookies. We're adding them all together, and then finally we're going to call our bake cookies function. Which, remember, takes a number of cookies, right? So let's say we had 5 chefs and a bakery. We would end up adding 5 here because it's 5 times 1, and then later we would add 1 times 5. So then total new cookies would end up being 10, right? And then we would call the bake cookies function with 10. That would add 10 to the cookie count, and then it would update the HTML to display that. Okay, so great. We got a function that when you call it, it will calculate the number of cookies that were baked, but we never actually call it. So what we need to do, we need to use a function in JavaScript, which is built into JavaScript, and it's called setInterval. So this is a built-in function to JavaScript, so I don't need to declare it anywhere. And what it allows you to give a function and a duration, and what it will do is it will run that function infinitely every duration amount of time. So it takes a number of milliseconds. So in our case, we want to run every second. 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds. So what I can do is I can say automatic cookie updates. So that's getting that function that we declared up here. And then as a second parameter, I give 1,000. And what we should see is that what it will do is it will run this function every second infinitely, and each second this will then calculate the number of cookies that baked, all that kind of stuff. So this should work now, hopefully. So we have to manually get up to 20 cookies. So you've got exactly 20. And I'm going to hit chef. And now, without me doing anything, my hands are not touching this, the chef is baking 1 cookie per second. So let's hurry along again quickly. Now we've got 2 chefs, so they're baking 2 cookies per second. So it goes up in 2 each time. I got 3 each time. Yeah, so this sort of like the main. I think we ended up sort of doing a pretty good timing because I think this one was supposed to end. Yeah. Oh no, I've got the number. No, actually, no, perfect. It's when I'm sort of supposed to end. Obviously, what we've done today is not a super advanced fun game, but what we've done is we learned the core of how to make a more interesting game, right? These techniques you've learned today, maybe they're not the most this isn't the best online game you've ever played, but it is that the core of it is something you can work on in your free time to improve it, right? And so I'm going to set the challenge to you guys, which is find some improvements. How can you make it more fun? Maybe scrap the whole cookie idea, completely, but make a different game, or maybe sort of what can you do to improve this game, right? Maybe you can make upgrades, you can make it look better, so CSS to make that make it more interesting. I think there's some other some UI improvements to see how many chefs or bakeries or factories you have. All these things you can sort of try and add to. Cool. Do you have any questions? I know some people struggle on the way to this. I'm kind of sorry that we didn't manage to answer the questions time. And we had some issues with seeing because links weren't being displayed in the chat, which meant that we couldn't really help you, and that was a big issue. But hopefully, the people who could. People who could follow along, hopefully you got something working, which would be awesome. That worked for at least a couple of people. And if you didn't, if you had some difficulties, then make sure that you have a look over the tutorial later, and it's all explained there. I don't know, could somebody paste the link I've got in the chat because I don't have access to sort of posting the chat from this computer. Because I'm going to post it in the StreamYard. If somebody could look at that in the StreamYard, maybe they can post it in the chat so people can sort of look at what I've done and maybe see if they want to change it. Great. Hopefully that link works and lets you see my code. Yeah, it does. It looks like it does. Cool. Oh, wait. Oh, no, it's an older version of the code. Why is that? Do I need to save it? Oh, yeah. So I need to save. Sorry. Okay. That link should now include the latest version of my code. Hopefully. Yes, it does. Great. So if you go to the link that the official account posted, that has my code. I'm going to wrap up here and hand back to Peter, unless, yeah, if that's who I said to hand over to.
Louis, thank you very much. That was absolutely fantastic and really fascinating and beautifully presented. So
Thank you.
If you have any questions still on that, there are mentors in the chat channel, Jonathan and others who'll be able to help you. But now we're going to join Richard to launch and Ozzy. Hi, Ozzy. Hey, good to see you guys. Yeah, hi there. So Richard and Ozzy are going to launch the 2020-2021 Raspberry Pi Mission Zero project with CoderDojo Ham for those of you who want to send code into space. It's very exciting. Richard, Ozzy, over to you.
Thanks, Peter. Hello, everyone. Yeah, welcome to our Mission Zero first session of this year. As you know, Mission Zero has been running for a few years now, but it is a bit different this year. There's some new challenges involved, and we're going to get stuck into those in just a second. Before we do that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Mission Zero and explain about the Astro Pi system. So this is an Astro Pi, for those of you who've never seen one before. It is a Raspberry Pi computer, but in a really fancy aluminium flight case. And there are 2 of these right now on the International Space Station. So what Mission Zero is all about is writing some Python code that in April and May of next year will be sent to the International Space Station and will be run on the Astro Pis that are on the ISS. And every year, thousands of people from around Europe write their Python code and send their experiments up to space to have them run on these Astro Pis. And you can see the Astro Pi has got a few things on it. It's got this really nice LED screen here. I don't know if you can see that too well on the stream. It's actually a candle that's flickering. And this hole here actually has a route through to the humidity sensor on board the ISS. So if I blow on it, I should be able to blow the candle out. And now the candle's gone out. There are some other fancy things on here that I think some of you may have seen before, but because we're short of time, I won't go into that too much today. Just before we actually start on our coding, for those of you who don't believe that there are 2 Raspberry Pis in the International Space Station, if you go to this link and have a look around, this is Google Earth for the International Space Station. And on there, you can look around the different modules of the International Space Station and see if you can find the Raspberry Pis. And if you want to have a quick look at that, we can come back at the end and I can actually show you where those things are. But right now, we're going to get started on Mission Zero. So to do that, there's a couple of links to follow. First of all, the Mission Zero project itself is online, and just like for the last session with Louis, you can follow through the steps there. You don't need to sit and do that. We're going to show you everything you need to do. But if you do want to actually follow along the project with yourself, if you follow this link here, rpf.io/m0, that is at the end there, not an O, it's a 0, that will take you to the project that shows you all the steps that we're going to need to complete today. We're just going to share our screen now. There we go. And so let's go to just to follow that link to show you the project first of all. I'm going to type that in, I'll save me type in. Okay, so this is the project that we're going to follow. It tells you all about Astro Pi at the start. What also is really helpful here is if you go down on the left there, there's you can see the different topics we're going to be going. If you click on display a message, which is the third one down, right there is a link to the SenseHat emulator. So basically, this is using Trinket again, like Louis did. And in there, you can see just in the picture below, there's a picture of the flight unit that I was showing you earlier, one of these things. So you can run your code as if it was being actually run on the AstroPis in space. If you click on that link there, Oz, that will take you through the Trinket emulator. If you just want to go straight there and you don't want to bother going via the project, then you can just go to trinket.io/mission0, which will take you straight to that page. You can see that at the top there. So before we get started, and while everyone's getting through that link, I'll just tell you what the challenge is for Mission 0. There's basically 3 things we need to do in order to have our code run on the ISS. The first thing is we need to use the LED screen. So the lights that we saw flickering up earlier, we need to send a message to the astronauts. And I know the astronauts in the space station do really enjoy seeing those messages. I mean, they don't sit there all the time watching them because they run for several days because there's so many of them. But when they're working in the Columbus module, they do see the pictures and the messages flickering up, and that cheers them up a bit while they're in space. That's the first thing you need to do, is to send a message into space on the LED matrix. The second thing is to take a humidity reading. So the Raspberry Pis, the SenseHat has a humidity sensor on it, and you take a humidity reading as well as using the LED matrix. And the third thing you need to do is to have your code run without any errors. So there's no point sending a program up to space that won't run properly. And once you've done those 3 things, then have you just done it?
Did it.
Great. Okay, so Ozzy's a bit of a show off here. So he's gone straight in there and typed in 1 line of code. And if you can see at the bottom, it's done all the things we need to do. So that 1 line of code is Mission 0 finished. So we can all go home now because that's done, right?
Yeah, we're done.
No, we're not going to do that. So that's a really simple way of doing it. And it's a really good way of Ozzy showing off how you can do very clever things with just 1 line of Python. But that would be a really boring experiment to send into space. Just printing the numbers on the screen would not be very interesting for the astronauts to look at. So what we're going to do is look at making our entry much more exciting before we submit them. And I should just say that all the programs that are sent to the International Space Station, so all the programs that are submitted, you do also get a certificate once your program was run in space, which will be next year. And that will not only say when your experiment ran, but it will also show you exactly where over the Earth the International Space Station was when your program worked. Right, so let's get stuck in. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how we send messages onto that LED screen. So let's just start. No, stick on Trinket, please.
Okay.
We'll just start with sending a simple hello world onto the screens. So let's go fast. So the way we actually just take a step backwards. When you went to this Trinket page, you can see it looks a bit different from the normal Python Trinket in that there's already 3 lines filled in for you. So let's just quickly talk about what they are. The first line there imports the SenseHat library. So there's a whole bunch of Python that's been written that enables you to use all the sensors and the LED screen that's on the Raspberry Pi. So we're going to import that library for us. We don't want to have to type all that low-level code in and make that work. And then we need to set up a connection to the SenseHat. And that's what the second line does. And we're going to call our SenseHat Sense, which that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, bad joke. And then the next thing we do is we just set which way round the LED is, which way up it is. Because obviously in space, when this flight unit's floating around, the messages could need to be scrolled in any direction. So this is just going to set it for our purposes to make sure it goes left to right. Okay, let's go. Let's write our first message. So let's do sense, and the function to show a message on the screen, amazingly, is sense.show_message.
How do you make the typing bigger?
Ah, good idea. If you click on the 3 bars, and then click on that, yeah. I think we're already on that one. Okay, is that better? Yeah, that looks like it's better. Okay, just stick with that for the moment. Yeah. Sent.show underscore message. And this is a Python function, so it needs to have open brackets, close brackets, and we're going to display a string. So that needs to be inside double quotes. And that's our first message. That's nice. Okay, hello space. Let's click.
Hello world is in the quote.
Hello world, right? Hello space is a good one. Yeah. So let's click on run, and you should see now the message scrolling across the screen. So that's good. Oh, there's one other thing though I should have mentioned about your program. Not only does it have to use the LEDs and take a humidity reading and run without errors, but it's got to run in
30 seconds.
30 seconds, right? So you've only got 30 seconds to send your program there. So I think that message was a bit slow. We can speed it up, right?
Yeah.
So like all good Python functions, you can add in some parameters. So if we add a comma in after there, and then say scroll underscore speed, and I think it's equals, isn't it? Scroll underscore speed equals 0.1. Let's try that. Cool. And your bracket, yeah, nice. There we go. Well, that's not still quite slow. Let's make that number smaller. 0.01. Let's see how fast that one's now. That's a bit faster. There's a bit of lag on there, but this one, yeah, the one's faster. Yeah, it's a bit jerky, isn't it? But it is running faster. Yeah, let's not make it quite that fast. There you go. That's good. That's a nice speed. That's nice. That's readable. It's still a bit dull. I think we want to make it brighter. Let's see if we can change the colours. So we've got two options for changing the colours. We've got the colour of the letters themselves, or we've got the background colour.
Let's do the background.
Okay, background colour. So I think that's back underscore colour. And we say equals. And then how do we do colours in these languages? RGB values, right. So every colour of light is basically made of a mixture of 3 different colours, red, green and blue. So if we want to specify a particular colour, as long as we say how much red there is, how much green there is and how much blue there is, that will enable us to show any colour we like. So you're saying, what colour is that going to be then?
So there's like a bit of red, so,
yeah,
and there's a bit of green, and there's lots of green, so yellowy.
All right, let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens. Oh, I think you need brackets around your colour. Let's go to the end, put another bracket in. That's that's like a vomit colour. It's a vomity green colour. I don't like that at all. Let's add some more red in. So if we change the first number, right?
And it is from 0 to 255. So 255 is the max. That's still not very nice. Suppose we just did green.
Green by itself. Okay. That's all right. Yeah. So I think one thing I find remembering these values difficult. So let's use a variable instead of putting it in there, right? So on the line above, let's just create some colours that we can use. So if we say red equals, what would red be?
So it'd be just red and nothing else.
Right. Yeah. All the red, no green, no blue, and then let's do the same for green and blue.
Green would be
Wait, what's that? That's not going to be green, even though you called it green. What colour is that going to be?
You got me confused because.
Right, that'll be green. Yeah. Well, let's do that. What would be all the colours together? White. Right. Exactly.
Blue.
Yeah.
It'll be 0, 0, 2, 5, 5.
Right. Now let's try and use some of those in the next line then. So when we said back colour, let's use the variable instead of typing it in, because that'll make it easier to see what colours we're using. So let's do our
Blue.
blue, okay, background in blue, yeah.
That wouldn't need to be black.
Yeah, nice. And now we can change the
Text.
colour, okay?
Then if you do text, not spelled like that, text underscore colour equals, let's say, red.
Yeah.
And we'll have blue background with red text.
Nice. Because we're on quite a big screen, let's just split that line over multiple lines in the code here. So after the comma, just hit enter, new line, and if we let's type it in, and I think that should still run. Yeah. So you can see all the code there on the screen. So that's nice. We can make it go faster. We can change the colours. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. That's a nice colourful message, I think. Sending just words, though, isn't that exciting, I don't think. I think it'd be nice if we sent a picture as well. So let's try and work out a picture. How many pixels have we got on the matrix there?
So we've got 64 with this 8 by 8.
We've got 64, right? So that's not great resolution, is it? That's not high definition at all, but we could probably do some quite simple pictures. Let's see if we can create a picture. Before we do that, to make our picture easier, let's change our variables up the top. So instead of being red, let's just do R, G, yeah, and then make that B. And then we need to change them in our function. So why are R, G, and B not good variable names normally?
Because they're not like, if you glance at it instantly, you wouldn't know that says red. That could be race car.
Right, red could be
Green
anything. Could be rubbish, R for rubbish, or
Yeah.
R for
Race car.
race car. Yeah, okay, good.
Rhino.
But it is helpful for the thing we're going to do next, which is to do some bitmap images. So what we need to do is to create a list which has 64 elements in it, one for each of the pixels on the matrix. So let's call our list pick or something like that. Pick one, okay, and say equals, and then because it's a list, we need square brackets. All right, so let's put a carriage return in there. I think enter carriage return for the old days of typewriters, and then then let's have a blank line as well to space it out, right? And then the line above, we'll start creating our pixels. So if we do it by row, let's think, what picture should we draw?
I'd like a green on the bottom.
Was that stripes?
No, I was thinking like a picture of like,
Okay.
It's in like, yeah.
Right, you can do it. Right.
So I'm gonna make the sky blue. So
Okay.
I'm gonna do B, wait,
Yeah.
Comma B, comma B, comma B.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's 5, 6, 7, 8.
Great. So that'll be our top line of our picture. Would all be blue, right?
Then we have B, B. What's two in between? Like that. Let's just put red there.
Okay.
Blue, blue, red, blue, blue.
Row, yeah.
I'm just gonna make the next row the same.
I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but I'll be just to find out. Yeah, it could just be a pretty pattern. That's all right.
So we have blue, red, red, blue, blue. I'm messing it up there. We need to make sure the
Space, yeah.
commas
Yeah.
are in.
The spaces wouldn't actually matter. It just makes it easier to see.
Blue, what's in it? Red, red, red. How am I on now? How many lines have I got?
1,
I've done
2,
5.
3, 5. Yeah, it's 5, yeah.
Red, red.
It's quite fiddly, and it's easy to make a mistake here. So a common mistake is having too many rows or having too many columns or not having enough or missing out a comma. I have no idea what Ozzy's drawing here.
I literally have no idea.
Let's see what it turns out to be. Okay, great.
You don't need the comma on the last one.
You don't. You're right, that's on the list. Right.
Then we do.
Now we've got our picture. We need to load that picture onto the LED matrix. And we can do that by setting the pixels using the function
Set pixels.
amazing.
Is it sense?
Yeah.
Dot set into pixels.
Yeah.
One.
Exactly that, yeah. I think that's right. Let's try it. So
And also, another thing that the program has to be is under 1,000 lines, doesn't it?
I think that's changed this year. I think
Oh.
they've made it more than that.
Let's see if you're having loads of pictures, then
Right, so here's our message. Hello world, let's see if this is going to work.
how many spaces?
So if you go it right first time, look at that. That's nice and symmetrical.
I have no idea what it is.
Well, you know, I immediately thought it was.
What?
It was like the launch gantry for a space rocket after the rocket's gone.
Oh yeah, it's the
So the rocket was in the middle, and the
I mean, if you had another colour going through that bit in the middle, that could be the space rocket. Yeah,
It
you
could
could
be.
actually have the space rocket.
Right. Well, why don't we put the space rocket in? So if we change the middle section of blues to
Okay.
white,
I'm going to put a new colour.
okay, you can make a new colour first.
And
Right?
another problem with having the one letter is if I was going to have black, what would I name it?
I always do an X.
Oh.
That's just for cross for blank because there's no thing is.
So black would be zero, nothing, nothing, and nothing. There's completely nothing on it. The thinking process of changing.
Once you've got that grid in there, if you want to add other pictures in, you can just copy and paste that. It's a black spaceship then.
Yes, like the, I was thinking red could be the rocket boosters.
Oh, okay. The space shuttles are normally white, aren't they? That's how it looks.
Well, the space rocket is black and red. Ta-da!
I think it's a nice symmetrical pattern.
Yeah, let's just call it symmetrical pattern. It doesn't really look like it.
Okay, cool. How are you all getting on out there? If you've got any questions or any problems, please do post your comments in the chat. There's a team of mentors all ready to help. I'm going to assume, unless someone shouts out now, that you're all doing okay and following along.
Okay.
Ozzy's just messing around with our screen layout while we're waiting.
Let's
That's
try
fine.
and have that one back again. So we're back.
But let's just go with what we've done so far. We've made use of some variables to store different colours in. We've got red, green, blue, and no colour, which is everything turned off. We've got a happy message that we're sending to the space station, and we've got a picture that we're loading on there as well. So that's nice and colourful. The other part of the challenge is
To read from the humidity sensor.
read from the humidity sensor. So maybe we could do that, and then depending on how humid it was, display one of two pictures.
So we could have like a rainforest if there was lots of humid, so lots of trees.
Yeah.
And a desert,
Sure.
so yellow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then lots of green.
Because what is humidity?
How much how many water particles are in the air?
Right. How moist it is, how damp it is. Yeah. So I was thinking you could have a fish or a.
No.
No. Okay. Right.
Like
Well,
my
you pick them. Let's do the humidity
The last
reading.
line, mine says bad input.
The last line, mine says bad input. We seem to be having problems sharing links in the chat, but there is a shared Google document that I can post a link to, that you could then post the links to your projects in. There is one complication though, because of the way Trinket works, all of them, if you look in the URL here, it says trinket.io/mission0. So there's no easy way to link to your project like there is with a normal Trinket Python project. But what you can do, and this is a bit complex, but it does work.
You just deleted it.
Does delete your code. Oh no, I closed the wrong tab. That's what I get tapping. That's quick.
I can't even bother.
Oh, let me do it.
You type all the code that you just deleted.
Sense.
If yours is saying bad input, just make sure it's the same as the same thing you're inputting as your list is the picture's called. You haven't found,
Right.
or make sure there's no. You copy the code as you're going sort of fast. We're going to retype the code now.
Yes, you've got plenty of time to catch up now.
Make sure there's not colons around it because it shouldn't be a string. But maybe paste the last line of your code into the chat and we'll see if there's any obvious problems with it.
That's a good idea. Good idea. Before we make our color definition, so we had R equals.
If you need to catch up, this is a good time because
They deleted all our code.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should never let me drive the keyboard.
So now we've got. So now we're just retyping it.
So there's our green color.
You say the black color. So if you are having problems with your last line, paste into the chat and then we can see if there's any obvious errors.
Right, so actually text color equals R underscore color equals B.
Okay.
Is that right? I've got the others in mind. Yeah, okay.
It was blue on red.
Well, I've made it red on green now.
No, that sounds good.
I think it's nice. And then we had our picture, right?
We need to keep that picture if we're making the other
I'm going to
thing.
make my own picture now.
This is my picture. We're just doing a boring pattern.
What? Brian's going to be beautiful.
And we've just made it uneven.
Oh, shush, I'm going to fix that in a minute. There we go. Got 8, I've got 8 there. I've not got 9, have I? 1, 2, 3, 4,
You've got
5, 6, 7, 8. And look, I'm going to cheat.
I know. Okay. Let's do picture 1. Then stop. Set pixels. Set pixels. Pick one. Now let's see your horrible picture.
I've got bad input, so let's see what my problem was then.
You've indented the last line.
Indented the last line. Oh no, I've got that. That was my problem. Look, I've got a random square bracket. Really, I should have that. Neat.
Look, the thing is, without the space, with the spaces in, it makes it look like a square on the screen.
Look at that beautiful picture now. Look at that. That's an amazing work of art.
That just looks like a rainbow that you didn't have enough paint colours for.
Everyone's an art critic, aren't they?
It does look like a rainbow.
Okay, so you want me to add these spaces in? You think that looks?
No, it just makes it look square.
This is what I agree. You're right. Yeah. Right. So hopefully everyone's catching up because I've caught up with myself. And if you had that bad input issue, hopefully that's now fixed.
And by the way, you don't need to do the spaces. I just think.
Well, you saw that it didn't work without the spaces, but I agree with you, Ozzy. I think it's easier to then change your picture if you have them in.
You've already copied and pasted. Just Just copy those three.
What?
No, you've already got the R.
Here. Right. Good job you're here.
It looks so much better now.
Yeah, great. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to do...
now we're going to do the hot and... No, that was the temperature one.
yeah, some humidity, right. So
humid and...
I'm going to give you back the keyboard now. I'm not going to even touch it
not
again now.
humid.
So the Raspberry Pi, the flight unit... you taking this off?
Yes,
Oh, hang on. Yep.
you're going to have to move the mouse upwards. You're used.
The flight unit here, as well as having the LED matrix, it's got this board called the sensor on it. And you saw earlier that the humidity sensor is this hole here. So the sensor in there tells us how much moisture there is in the air. There's a whole bunch of other sensors on there, like a temperature sensor and a magnetometer and an accelerometer. But we just want to use the humidity sensor. So let's have a blank line before we have our picture. Those lines you posted there, Tim, are those lines you're having problems with? Or are you just showing a cover picture? I can't see.
So you've got...
From time input C. Great. Okay, I'm not sure what you're posting there, Tim. I'm sure it looks really good. So you're doing your pictures now, you're doing? Let's take a humidity reading first, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, right, do your picture. Great. Draw a picture. No,
you definitely do the pictures.
All right, okay, you do the pictures
So
first.
I'm
right.
going to try...
Picture of a fish.
No. Why
Right.
do you do it?
Cool.
Blue. Okay, now let's start to make this jungle. Green.
Nice. These are like jungle vines or trees, isn't it? Okay, cool.
Green.
I'm not pixel art.
Green. Now, green.
Got some black in there as well.
Just like tree trunk sort of thing.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, pixel art, if you squeeze, right, you can sometimes see the difference in shapes, make it more visible. If you're going to do a desert, you probably need a yellow colour then.
So if you ever... What's the website where you can go and look up your colours and find the RGB?
Oh, there's lots of lots.
Yeah, so there's lots of websites. So if you don't know the RGB value for, say, yellow, you can go to...
If you Google for RGB colours, you'll probably find a lot of websites that do it. I think there's actually one in the project for this we linked to. There is actually a picker in there as well.
I'm just going to show just put the sense.set pixels, just so I can see what my picture looks like.
So Brainiac's asking, could you copy our picture into the chat?
Oh, look at that! That's so good.
That's definitely
Like a
rainforesty.
jungle.
Which picture do you want? The rainforest one or my wonderful, amazing, stripy one?
Wonderful, amazing. Amateur. Your picture is amateur.
That's our jungle. So you're calling that humid. So what's dry going to be then?
Let's just copy this picture.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna copy the humid picture into the chat.
Okay. Come on, a mess. Try. Shall we? Will be. So it wrapped it. It was too big, so it was wrapped it over toothpaste. But that might work.
That's our jungle one. So all I've really done is just put a bit of green and blue and black on the screen, a random mess. There is no actual artistic.
I get what it is, though. That's fine.
It's just trying to show its screen.
Right. So
So
let's have a deserty picture. Then.
Now I'm just going to delete this line because
Okay.
we don't want the humid to show the whole time.
Let's just give people a sec to catch up. They need to.
Brainiac, that was the jungle one. That was the rainforest one. All just posting, but it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, see, fish would have been good. Fish would have been good. Fish would have been good.
Because the fish might think like you're talking about food. It might make the astronauts hungry, and then they might run out of food.
Let's define some yellow, shall we?
Okay, what's yellow? Okay, sand. No, let's just put dry.
Right. Okay. I mean, and our yellow colour, so we actually need wides.
What is the yellow?
So yellow is all the red and all the green. So 255, the first value. Yeah, cool. That's our yellow.
So if you go into the, I'll put it up again. That link, and one of the, I think the steps adding colour.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Will have a link to a
Colour picker.
A colour picker, which allows you to find whatever colour in RGB value.
You can just Google RGB colour and you'll probably find loads of It's going to be another line. Just blues. Blue sky and yellow desert.
Yeah.
In place, maybe?
No, there's no.
Oh, I see. Obviously, if you fancy drawing a fish, I'd go ahead and do a fish.
No, I don't. It's way better than the first idea.
The sandcastle on the town.
No.
That'd be cool to draw out.
Then you'd have to do the fish because it fits in with the beach.
Right, exactly.
But we don't want to do fish.
Right.
Fish in a living space.
A beach would be a nightmare in space. All that sand is getting all the equipment, so that's not a good thing.
Okay. I've done that. That's just.
Have you got 8x8 there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sense dot set underscore pixels and then like dry.
Right.
Let's see what it looks like.
You see that message? We could comment that out, couldn't we? To save them to see that message every time.
Hello space.
64. So I think you've missed one out. 1, 2, 3. See, you've only got 7 lines, man. I said. No.
Why?
Resend you each of us. That was actually quite a helpful error message from Python there. Let's just leave that banner, shall we, so we can see our error message.
Yeah,
It's gone. Well, there was a helpful error message that said, "Well,
there's the.
what's the one black pixel on the bottom?"
It's a snake.
It's a snake. Okay, great. Right. Well, that's our dry thing. So now we've got 2 pictures, right? We've got a wet picture and a dry picture.
Humid and dry.
Right. So now we'll want to do a test to see how humid it is. And if you notice on the right-hand side of the emulator, there's these little sliders here. One for the temperature, one for the
Time?
yeah, and one for the humidity. This is on there. So let's read from the humidity sensor.
You don't need that one.
Well, let's comment that out, shall we? We might use it in a minute. So how do we read from the humidity?
So we do. So we need to get the humidity. So helpfully, it's called sense.get underscore humidity, spelled HUMIDIT.
And it's a function.
Which means.
And why don't we
Put it in a variable.
put it in a variable? Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just going to do humidity equals sense get humidity.
Okay, cool. And then what should we do with that?
So Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in an if loop. So if
What kind of value is that sense humidity going to give us there?
integer. No, a real.
Or float, yeah. But it's a number, basically, right? Yeah.
So if humidity. So what's average humidity, would you say?
Well, like this is relative humidity, so that's 0, which means there's no moisture in the air at all the way to 100% humidity, which means it's really, really humid.
So if it's over 10.
Like average in a normal room is about 40.
Oh,
That's
so
40%.
if humidity is bigger than 40.
Yeah. Make sure you got the colon there.
I'm just doing it easy because we already have the line there.
Okay.
That.
So
if the humidity is less than 40.
Right. So in other words, it's quite dry.
Yeah.
We'll show the dry picture. Yeah.
Show the dry picture. Else.
Yeah.
We don't. Do we need a colon there?
Yeah, you do need a colon. Yeah.
We're just going to do sense dot set underscore pixels humid. So what I've done there is said if the humidity is less than 40, we're going to make it display the dry picture, so the desert, to say there's not much humidity. And if it's over that or equal to 40, it's going to do the humid picture.
Right, well, let's try it. Let's run the program. So what's our humidity set at the moment?
45. So that should do humid.
Should do the humid picture, right? Great.
Yeah,
Let's whack that down and then test the other criteria as well.
Let's go down to like 10.
10. Okay. So now it should do our desert.
Desert. There we
Perfect.
go.
Great.
So
So we've got a nice little test in there as well.
So we put it at 40, that should do the humid.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Fantastic. So if we just scroll down now, we should see that we've definitely now met all the 3 challenge
Using
questions
4
there.
seconds.
That was in 4 seconds, right?
So that's quite fast.
That's quite fast. So we've got 26 seconds worth of space programming time. So why don't we do some sort of animation?
Don't you have to like code each?
Yeah, that's right. We can do a really simple one, like a smiley face or something.
Okay.
Right. So let's draw another picture then.
So after this, I'm gonna.
Someone's asking for your wonderful dry picture to be pasted in. Can you do that?
So this is gonna be. It will come out.
It looks like it comes across 2 messages. I think there's too many characters in it. I'm going to post that in. There you go. That's a dry picture.
That's a dry one.
Cool. Let's make a smiley.
I'm going to import the sleep.
Okay, good idea. Yeah.
So I'm going to do it at the top line here. I'm going to do from time import sleep. I think someone said it earlier in the comment, but that will just allow us to have breaks so it doesn't instantly change. Could you copy your code so I can see where you're involved? We can copy the link, can't we?
Yeah, let's do what I was going to try and do earlier on. I won't close the tab this time. What I'll do is I'll go to trinket.io/3, which will give me a window here. Then I'll grab our code, copy that, I'll paste that in here. And that won't run here, but I should then be able to take a link to it. I think this will work. And if I paste that in the chat, if you go to that link, then you should see my Trinket code here. It obviously won't run because this isn't running in the Sensor emulator, but then you can copy and paste this back into the emulator one like I did. If that makes sense. But that code should be working code we've done so far. Right, let's do our animation.
First I'm going to do sleep 2.
Okay.
So you can see the humidity.
Yeah. Otherwise it will just disappear. Good idea.
Then I'm going to do A1 for animation 1.
Okay.
Then what I'm going to do?
Just some smiley. We can have a smiley like winking or something.
So we're going to have.
So loads of blacks. Why don't we do 8 blacks, and then we'll do 8 by 8 blacks, and then we'll just change.
I thought I was going to have 8 by 8 white. Yellow, because smiley faces usually.
Oh, all right. Okay, you're going to have black eyes. All right. Sweet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8. Don't duplicate that.
Yeah, so I'm just going to copy.
Watch out, you've got the yeah, exactly.
So if I take that, I can have
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right.
But you have to remember to take the last comma out.
I think actually if you left it in, I don't think it matters, but it's good to not have it. Right, and then if we look at that and squint, where would the eyes be? There.
So you have the X here.
Yeah. Single eye. Okay.
No, it's 2.
Yeah, 2 by 2.
So like that.
Is there an upper limit to the speed the program will run? I think it's 0.01. I'm not sure exactly. There is a limit. Basically, you can put in a number that's smaller than that, but it won't run any faster.
That's what
That's okay. Cool. Yeah.
So now I'm going to do my smiley face about here. So I'm going to make.
Obviously, the point of the show message function is for the message to be readable. Otherwise, it just kind of goes past. And there is a limit to how quickly you can turn on and off the individual pixels.
Okay, so I've made my smiley face there.
All right.
So I'm going to copy and paste this.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to have a 2 equals. I'm just going to do that and then have this one. So now what I'm going to change is. Maybe I'm making go from a smiley face to a sad face.
Okay.
So I'm going to have this is going to be an amazing 3 slide animation.
All right.
Or we can play it multiple times.
Why don't we just flip between those two for a moment? Just do smile, frown.
We've got to get one more.
Okay.
Or we'll have like no
We've
change.
got 3 minutes till show and tell.
Now we're just gonna Oh, okay. No.
Basically, you've got 3 frames to your animation.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So now what I'm going to do at the bottom here is I did sleep 2 online.
Would you definitely do from time import sleep at the top of your program?
Yes, you need to do the from time import sleep. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Do that twice. Now if we run, we'll go hello space. Then I'll go humid because you've got it humid. Yeah, look.
Nice.
It goes from smiley face to sad face.
But how long did that take? 7 seconds. So we can go through that multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Let's put that in a loop and do it like.
So, you know, and then what I'm going to do.
And put it back to it.
So it looks smooth. I'm going to have it go from like smiley to sad to smiley to
All right.
sad.
Cool. Okay. And then let's wrap that in a loop.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to indent this all.
Yeah. Nice.
And before I in rain.
This is like a repeat so many times in Scratch.
We can do this 10 times.
All right. So,
That's it.
okay.
Just scroll down so we can watch our time here. So you can go like there, look.
That's nice.
See how many times it's going to work. We're
Will
going
it get in before 30 seconds is up?
Yes.
Great. Right. So
Or 90 seconds.
now the next thing to do, and you don't have to rush and do this at home, but we're just going to show you how to do it right now, is you need to submit your program. So down at the bottom here, you can see as long as you've got these three bits, these three sentences have all gone green, that means your code is eligible to go to space. So what you then need to do is to go into this box here and add in this phrase, hot-game. You should see that will come up with my name there, classroom code found. So it's hot-game. I'm going to put it in the chat. Then you click continue to form. And the next bit is it's going to ask you some stuff about you. So first of all, this is the hardest bit. You think of your team name. What do you want to call your team name, Ozzy? Brilliant, great. And your first name? Ozzy. You've got to be 14 or younger to go to space.
Am I 13?
I think you're 13, yeah.
And I am
Great. There you go. And then you can do submit team information. And there you go. Hurrah, this program is headed into space. So this program in April or May will run on the International Space Station.
And
now, finally, we've also got a link we can share to this one. So now we've submitted it. If you want to look at our code,
our finished project.
Our finished project is now there. But once you're happy with yours, and you don't have to rush and do this right now at all, remember hot-game, put it in there, enter your team name, your age. You have to be under 14, or at least you have to claim to be under 14 to get yours to run, and then they'll get sent in. All the certificates will come to me after the program runs next year, so make sure we have your email address, and what it might be a good idea to do actually is if you email in with the team name you used, then when we get the certificates back in April or May, we can share those certificates with you.
So how do you make the pitch stay longer? What you can do is you can change the sleep to go up more. So if you do sleep 1, it will stay for 1 second. Sleep 2, it will stay for 2 seconds. So there we go. I'll put the font size up.
I changed it back down again, didn't it? Yeah.
And we go to here. If you change these ones from like 1 to the sleep to 1, it will stand for 1 second. So that's how you make it go.
Yeah. That's great. So I think it's time for some show and tell now. So if any of you have would like to show and tell your Mission Zero project, then if you want to add the link to it into that shared Google Doc that I'll just post the link to in a second, then I can copy and paste your code from your Trinket link into our screen here and show that. It's a bit complicated, unfortunately. I'm not sure why links aren't working in YouTube chat today. They should be set up to do that.
I think there's a setting that stops you from being able to post links.
But the setting is unchecked. I've checked that it's unchecked. Yeah. Anyway, rpf.io
sense rotation in has no attribute.
Okay, so this I've just posted a link there to a Google Doc where you can add your links in. Mine says that for the sense that rotation int has no attribute. So this is up here. Does your line look like this? You should have sense.set_rotation colon, and in brackets rather 270. Or yeah, as Dan is suggesting, print that line of code. I'm going to bring Peter back into the chat in a few seconds when he's ready, and we can try and do some show and tell. Hi Peter, how you doing? Have you enjoyed this afternoon?
Richard and Ozzy, that was fantastic. That was great. I loved the little face on the end. That was pure artistry. Great.
Obviously, all
it's
my
exciting to think that code is going to run in space for real.
It really does real. We're hoping that we can actually ask the astronauts to record all the Mission Zero entries when they run, so that we can actually show people it running on the backdrop of the ISS at some point.
Anyway, I loved the artwork, Ozzy. Very creative. By the way, couldn't you have typed Control-Z to get your code back when you lost it?
No, because I closed the whole tab.
Right. Sad.
Yeah, so just stupid on someone's behalf.
Right. So, do we have anyone who's interested in show and tell? That's the question.
If you
Can't
are,
see any yet.
shout out in the chat, and I'll send you an invite to join the stream.
So, when I opened the Mission Zero page, Richard, because I'm only 13, then the picture of the sensor looked different. It was like a kind of green thing. Was that just a different page?
Do you mean
the emulator?
It didn't have.
Yeah, the emulator was didn't look like yours. It looked like sort of.
Was it just like a bare Raspberry Pi?
Sorry?
Was it just like a bare Raspberry Pi?
No, it was like a sort of green box, and you could pivot it round.
I think that was just a Raspberry Pi. Yeah, for some reason on some browsers, the skin of the emulator doesn't work properly, so it will just give you a default Raspberry Pi. I've seen that before.
Oh, right. Okay.
It should be okay.
So what browser? What's the best browser to use?
The most up-to-date version of Chrome. I know there's
Okay.
definitely problems with Firefox in the past.
Cool. Okay, doesn't look as though we've got any takers for show and tell.
It doesn't.
But we've got some nice messages, people saying thank you. Well done, Karina. Glad you enjoyed it. So should we sort of wrap up?
Yeah, the only thing, let's do that.
Sorry, did you want to go on and cover
No,
something else?
I was just thinking about seeing if anyone I thought someone was going to type something in the chat, but they haven't. It's been a great session again. I think thanks to Danny and Lena and to Louis for doing some marvelous sessions. I really enjoyed watching those back here.
Yeah, they were fantastic. And the Mission Zero, Aussie, thank you very much. And you, Richard, for being the broadcaster and StreamYard studio. And hopefully we can do another session like this in about 4 weeks' time.
Sure. And as I said, if you do submit your Mission Zero entry, please just email us with your team name so that when we get the certificates in April or May, we can make sure we send you your certificate.
Yeah. And if there's anything you'd like us to do, any particular platform you'd like us to try, or code or languages or ideas, then email us or leave a message in the text, and we'll love to try and help it. And tell your friends if they want to sign up for future sessions, we'll send them a link.
Cool.
Okay, so that's it, and we'll say goodbye.
Enjoy the rest of your weekends, everyone.
Yeah, and stay safe and well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.